Well, let's go straight to my next guest. She is, of course, the campaigning director for Defund the BBC, Rebecca Ryan. Welcome, Rebecca. Very happy New Year to you.
Hey, Kevin.
Now, let's talk about your favourite subject, the BBC. This was a strange one. It has been revealed in accounts that Tim Davie, the Director General, last year, spent more than 30 nights and over £3,000 staying in what we think, it's unnamed, but we think it's the same expensive central London hotel, presumably for work purposes. He's an important man, fair enough, but he lives, on a good day, less than an hour away. He lives in Henley-on-Thames. You can get there in an hour. He shouldn't really be spending thousands of pounds staying in posh hotels when he lives so close. The chief financial officer of the BBC, a guy called Alan Dixon, he spent 65 nights, we think, at the same palatial inn. He lives in Glasgow, even though his job's based in London. So that might explain why so many nights in London hotels. Now, there's a reason for that. I don't think it justifies that expense, but at least he can't say, well, he lives nearby. He lives in Glasgow. But why is Director General Tim Davie charging over £3,000 staying in these hotels to effectively licence fee payers, charging them? It's our money. Why is he doing that when he lives less than an hour away?
Well, exactly. I mean, I looked at it, and he lives sort of, 12-minute drive from the end of the Elizabeth line, the new line that they've got going out onto the west in the Stockbroker belt where he is. So, it doesn't make any sense at all, other than the fact they've just got this complete view of that they can do what they like and they're not answerable. Which, if you were the CEO of a successful business, then maybe you can do that kind of thing. But at the BBC, they were bullying pensioners on Christmas Day, if you remember, sending out letters saying, we're not going to stop visits even for Christmas Day kind of thing. And how awful is that you're intimidating vulnerable people on the day of, this one day when everyone is supposed to be able to relax. And he is, like you say, unnecessarily staying over in London. When he is literally just on the end of a tube line. It makes no sense other than just sheer arrogance and a lack of, awareness of how the country views it.
I've been speculating on what hotel it is. I've got a good idea. I think it's that there's a very expensive luxury 5-star hotel just across the road from New Broadcasting House. I would speculate that it's probably there. This is typical of the BBC. Also, the eco-conscious BBC, which has of course pledged to reduce its carbon emissions, like we're all losing sleep over the BBC's carbon emissions. But it did make this big pledge. Last year, or the first half of last year, 6 months, it spent £83,000 on loads of planet-destroying internal flights. So you could get a train from, say, London to Manchester, but BBC staff prefer to fly. These people are just utter hypocrites, aren't they?
They are, absolutely. And this is what people get so frustrated with, is people are sort of preaching all of these net zero agenda that's costing people huge amounts on their energy bills on a monthly basis that they can't afford to sort of eat or heat kind of thing. And yet you've got the people who are preaching this to them who are just doing whatever they want. And that's what people are sick and tired of, is this hypocrisy that we see constantly from the BBC. And if they want to tell people how they should be living their lives, then they have to live by that themselves, surely, because, if we're in this sort of energy climate crisis, then surely they should be doing everything as well. But, we all know that this thing has been overblown, but yet it's being used as a weapon to sort of beat the British people with, in order to try and get them to buy very expensive electric vehicles and awful sort of heat pumps that don't work and the such.
I mean, the problem we've got with the BBC now is, under the Tories, I mean, we were edging toward politicians, Westminster politicians. They always have this thing, oh, don't be nasty to the BBC because everybody loves the BBC. That's what they think in the Westminster bubble. I've got different news for them. It's not true. People don't love the BBC. They're sick to death of the damn BBC. But the Tories were beginning to edge towards recognising that and perhaps getting a bit tough on the BBC. No more, no more of this licence fee nonsense. Maybe you can start to think about paying your own way. But of course, the problem is that Labour will let the BBC get away with anything, won't it?
Absolutely. Well, we've had Keir Starmer saying that, that the BBC's backing them and that kind of thing. So they are absolutely unashamed of their sort of connection with each other in this sort of continuation of this metropolitan liberal elite narrative that they've got going. And yeah, they're not going to do anything. I mean, Lisa Nandy talked about democratising it or sort of making it into like John Lewis, where everybody's got a stake in it. But I don't think anybody believes that anymore. And the only way you're going to change the BBC, and we've seen throughout the whole of last year and for the the last decade, scandal after scandal at the BBC. But the only way you're going to change it is by really hitting them where it hurts, which is by just not paying your licence fee. We're always telling people that you don't have to pay for the BBC if you don't watch any live broadcast TV or BBC iPlayer. You can actually get away with not funding this organisation.
Does the BBC, I mean, they'll be boasting about Christmas at the moment, but does it actually make any programmes that anybody wants to watch, apart from Gavin and Stacey and Strictly Come Dancing? I mean, is there anything else people watch on the BBC? I can't think of anything.
Well, unfortunately, I have to pay for a license so that I can watch what they're doing and be able to criticise what they're doing. So, but I occasionally look at iPlayer, and there isn't anything. The last decent thing the BBC made, in my view, was Killing Eve, but that was BBC America that made that, so it's a private enterprise. So no, I don't know when they last made a decent drama. But as we know, through their sort of light entertainment and their news stories and all their general programming, it's just so full of woke nonsense that people are just switching off in their droves.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, the licence fee's just gone up, right? Just gone up to what, 170 or something?
Just shy of 170.
I mean, we're not getting value for money, are we, there?
Absolutely not. And this is the thing, is how people are used to consuming content nowadays, is everybody's got a sort of subscription to Netflix or Prime or whatever, or even they can watch ITV or Channel 4, these different on your smart TV, you can watch these for free even. So people are used to having all these different ways of watching TV programmes that doesn't require them to have a BBC licence. And actually, the thing is, the more people are getting used to the technology and watching things via sort of on demand and what have you, they're realising I really don't need to watch the BBC, and I really don't want to pay for it.
Absolutely. Rebecca, good to talk to you again. Come on again soon. That's Rebecca Ryan, Campaigning Director for Defund the BBC. It is about time we defunded the BBC, but it's not going to happen under Labour because they love the BBC. They call it public service broadcasting. What that means is boring broadcasting. That's all the BBC specialises in.